All right, I'm no longer a member of the Pipeline Safety Trust. This presentation is brought to you by a county council member from the Whatcom County Council. So, making that distinction, I've just put on my different hat, and I'll show you how this drove me to thinking about the Keep It in the Ground movement. And there I am with it. See, I do own two ties, for those who wondered. You know, certainly as a member of the Pipeline Safety Trust, I've kept my blinders on and tried to deal with what we always refer to as pipeline safety issues. And I don't think there's any real dichotomy in that. I think you can be a keep it in the grounder and still want to do this and keep the 2.8 million miles of pipelines that we're going to be using for years to come safe. With my elected official hat on, I live in a county that has two refineries. Cherry Point, and it has a very interesting place, Cherry Point. That's Cherry Point there. You can see one of the docks at the BP refinery. What makes this interesting is this is the closest route to Asia. Our county is northwest part of Washington State. We have the last deep water undeveloped port in the United States, as close to Asia as you can get. In the last 3 or 4 years, we have all of these different export issues coming at us. The first one was the largest coal export facility in the United States was proposed for Cherry Point, along with coal trains. There's talk of oil ports. There's already an LPG port going in. We've got a new natural gas pipeline coming through our county. It's the dotted red line there. It comes out of Canada, bringing gas from British Columbia through our county and then back into Canada again. It's a FERC process. They'll be able to use eminent domain. No benefit at all I can see for our county with my elected official hat on. And we have one of the largest oil pipelines, the Kinder Morgan expansion, going on just north of our border, and there's concerns about that could jump the border. What this really means personally to me is Cherry Point's a special place to me. I lived there for 25 years now. My kids grew up on the beach at Cherry Point. I walk my dog at Cherry Point 2 or 3 times a week. This is part of the undeveloped area at Cherry Point. 3 or 4 years ago, walking my dog, the dog noticed that there were some new trails going into the undeveloped wetlands at Cherry Point. So he dragged me back there, and that's me standing on what we found once we got through the little opening in the trees. A company had went in and cleared acres and acres of wetlands, and with my county official hat on, the dog and I mapped those, which is the picture down below. They basically push roads through wetlands. This was SSA Marine, one of the largest port development companies in the world. They were using some of the best consultants and biggest environmental consultants in the world to prepare their things, and they said they didn't have any idea that you couldn't just clear wetlands without any permits. So my dog and I busted them because I took an oath to uphold the laws of the state of Washington. So we turned this into the planning department. In local governments, as often is the case, wasn't prepared to deal with a billion-dollar company, and they got a $4,000 fine for doing that. Luckily, local environmental groups took it a little farther and took it to court, and there was an ultimate settlement where they said what they had done was illegal, and there was a $1.6 million settlement. Most of that money got plowed back into protecting areas in Puget Sound. First thing that came at us were the coal trains, unit trains, more than a mile long, blocking emergency access for police, fire, ambulances. Then we got the oil trains. All the refineries in the areas put in oil trains so they could bring in Bakken crude from North Dakota because the Alaska pipeline was starting to dry up. Now all of a sudden, my dog and I going out to walk at Cherry Point, we couldn't get across the road because LPG trains, a new company has come to town, got a pier, and is starting to export propane from Cherry Point. Each week, with my elected official hat on, at least once, probably sometimes twice, I get these messages from the American Petroleum Institute. I believe every elected official in the country gets these things talking about the wonders of oil and gas development. Lots of it's the truth, some of it's half-truth. I also serve on numerous committees that have looked at things. Marine Resource Committee, Shellfish Protection Districts, Northwest Clean Air Agency, and we have oyster farmers who are coming at us and very concerned because one of the things that's coming out of climate change is the oceans are warming and they're getting more acidic. the oyster growers in Washington State can't grow oysters anymore because the baby oysters can't form shells because of the increased acidity in the ocean connected to climate change. Hear about that a lot. Our county council meetings have turned into zoos as of late. This is a typical county council meeting. People on both sides packing the room. They each want to speak for 3 minutes at us. Guess how long that takes? You know, we get out of there at 2 in the morning quite often. So public effort forced a lot of the county council to start taking a look at climate change. And as Alexis talked, you know, everybody, most all scientists agree we need to be somewhere in those blue lines to keep the planet kind of the way we want it. Our current policies are way above. All the climate change pledges you hear about that everybody keeps trumpeting are in the middle, so they don't quite go far enough. And clearly, one of the first rules is that if you find yourself in a hole, quit digging. Well, that was all theoretical until recently my daughters found out, you know, saw how burned out I was in August. So they drugged me out to the Olympic Peninsula, the coast, to go backpacking. An area that I used to work in as a backcountry ranger, and it's one of those areas I really love. Beautiful area, you know, the ocean is amazing. I took them out there because I wanted them to see, before climate change hit, the tide pools out along the coast there. They're amazing if you've never been to the coast. So we went out there, spent a few days backpacking along the coast. The problem was these tide pools don't exist anymore. All the starfish are gone. A lot of the sea anemones are gone. A lot of the mussels are gone because the little attachment that helps hold them to the rocks can't form because of the small acidity increase already. So this picture was taken in 1970. You can't take this picture anymore. That was the convincing emotional thing to me. And the county council continues to have all these proposals coming at us. We don't know what they're happening until they get vested and have permits. So this past summer, the council, and I was pretty involved with this, like drafted it, we passed a ban on the export of fossil fuels from Whatcom County. And what this headline doesn't say, it's an export of unrefined fossil fuels. So it doesn't impact the current operations of the refineries there, but it tries to stop other things. And that's how I, as an elected official, was forced to start addressing with this, because the state and the federal governments aren't doing a very good job, and the industry is tooting a different horn altogether. I think we all need to try to work together to come up with more legitimate things. And that's how I became a Keep It in the Grounder, which I don't think in any way changes my emphasis on keeping pipelines safe that'll continue to be moving forward.